Hello everyone, today we're going to look at the game between Garry Kasparov with the white pieces versus a player named Guy West. And I believe this game was 1977 or 78, I believe. And it's a miniature. Alright, hold tight, here we go. So the young Garry Kasparov played e4, West played c5, knight f3, knight c6. Here's an interesting line of the Sicilian that is rarely played, um, and it's a cousin to the Alekhine defense. Difference being that black has his pawn played to c5 already, where in Alekhine's defense, the pawn would be back here on c7. But the themes are similar in that black wishes to provoke pawn push e5, and then have a similar play, and then try to prove later on that white center is overextended. However, in this game, Kasparov played knight c3. The main line is e5. Now, he may not have been prepared for this, and it's always important to, I like to call it, keep the position in front of you. If you don't really understand what's going on, even though theoretically there might be a move that you should do, it's always better just to play solid than to get in a position where you might not be comfortable with and trying to wage a theoretical battle with the opponent. Just play a solid game, and then afterward, then maybe go look it up and see what the correct way to play is. Alright, so knight c3, e6, and now we see the game transposing into this Paulson type structure. This right here is a kind of like, this line has a dubious reputation, and I don't know what it's called nowadays. I know it was called the Sicilian counterattack, and it might still be called that, but it's hardly ever seen because it has a quite dubious reputation, and rightfully so. Um, this is a primitive attack in that bishop pins the knight on c3 to the king, and now this pawn is actually under attack. So this is one of the oldest lines of the Sicilian, and just looking at the board, it looks like it's perfectly fine, but we'll see why it has its reputation in a few minutes. So the e pawn is attacked, and now e5 is provoked. Now here there's two main ideas for black. One is knight d5, which was played in the game, and we see the double attack here, threatening to win the pawn. And the other idea is knight e4. So first we'll look at what happened in the game. So knight d5 was played, bishop d2, knight takes c3. Now better is just bishop takes c3, and I say better because it's the lesser of two excuse me, because it's the lesser of two evils. uh, Black gives up the bishop here, which leaves his dark squares really weak, but he's not giving up a tempo in the position, but he's still worse here. Here, by taking with the knight, he doubles white's pawns, but now the bishop is attacked, so he has to lose time retreating. So he retreats the bishop back, all the way back, and we see now that black has no development whatsoever, and white has two pieces developed. And this pawn on e5 indicates the potential for attacking on the king side. So bishop d3, and we can already see that this is definitely a good place to attack. We see all the potential here, all this open space. Still, black is not developed, and we can see white has three pieces developed. d6, so he attacks the pawn right at its head, but he still has not developed. Queen e2, Kasparov just keeps developing. Knight d7, putting more pressure on this pawn, and now perhaps even threatening to win it. If you want, you could pause the video right here and figure out the continuation. Okay, at this point, Kasparov uses 4 pieces to 1 development, and along with these open lines, decided it was time to end the charade and play knight takes e6. Queen b6. Now, if f takes e6, black is going to lose his queen. As we see these, everything is open. So, queen h5 would happen, and 2 lines. King e7, bishop g5 check. Only move that's reasonable is knight f6. E takes f6 check. G takes f6. Bishop takes f6. King takes f6. And queen h4. And you win the queen. Other moves just lead to this massive loss of material. Okay, the other line, instead of moving the king, is g6, but that's when you utilize this bishop and you play bishop takes g6. And again, if king e7, then analogous lines with bishop g5. So we'll play h takes g6, and you leave the rook and you just like check here, and then you get the same idea. Knight will come here, and you would actually take with the queen this time, because after king e8, and you play that. Okay, so that's why this knight could not be taken. So he plays queen b6. Now here's a devastating move from Kasparov. Nope, Kasparov did not play e takes. Played knight c7 check. Attacking the rook and the king at the same time, and now threatening to play the discover check. Now some of you are saying, well, why not just simply queen takes c7? Well, after queen takes c7, the queen is brought here, and then after this discover check from the queen on e2, then the queen on c7 is captured to king d8, and D takes c7 check would be all she wrote. So my friends, after knight c7 check, West resigned. So for instance, after just king d8, then the knight just takes the rook. And so I just want to take you back because I wanted to show you the other line. So this is what was played in the game. And here's the other idea, is to come and play knight e4. Now the idea here is if bishop d2, it doesn't work here, because now after bishop takes c3, the knight is here as opposed to being up here. The knight is here on e4, and black can just simply swap off. Queen takes d2 and play move like queen a5 attacking here, or knight c6, and then black has a respectable game. It's attacking that. So a new idea has to be thought of. So instead of bishop d2, the move here is queen g4, attacking this pawn and the knight at the same time. And what is basically going on, the main theme to remember, don't try to remember the variation, but the main theme to try to remember is that white is ahead in development, and he's going to exploit that. So for instance, after queen g4, black is forced to do something. His knight takes c3. Now, not pawn takes c3, because then you just lose the game after this check. So you have to do an in-between move, or Zwischenzug. You play this move right here, queen takes g7. And interestingly enough, black has no decent discovered checks. In other words, there's nowhere he can move this knight to really make the check on the king effective. So this rook is attacked, he has to move it. For example, if he just tries to say go like here, for instance, with the check, then simply c3, and then this rook is on prise, and so is this knight. Excuse me, so is this bishop, and the knight is too, actually. Another move, for instance, knight e4, same thing, c3, and you have the two pieces attacked, so there's no reasonable discovery. So rook f8, and now a3. Again, no time for discovery, because now if this knight moves on c3, then the bishop is just captured. So, and now white is actually threatened to capture both of these pieces. So now he uses his discovery to pick up this knight right here, which is unprotected. So knight b5, and so a takes b4, because white was in check, and now knight d4. And there's a couple of ways to go about this, but bishop h6 is a good move. But in this game that I'm following, bishop g5 was played, and basically leads to an endgame here. So queen b6, and bishop h6 was played, attacking the rook. Queen takes b4 check, c3 with the fork. Knight f5 is pretty much the only move here. C takes b4, knight takes g7, and bishop takes g7. And this is a very good endgame, and this was from the game Sazabo, Sabo, spelled S-Z-A-B-O, Sabo, I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. Forgive me for my mispronunciation. Sabo McKeenis. And that game's from 1949, so it shows you that the line is very, excuse me, 1939. So that shows you the line is very old. And for instance, at the Rook G8, Bishop F6, and we can see White has the two bishops in just a dominating position. It's hard for Black to work up anything. So that's why that line is really not played too much. Just going back a couple of moves. Um, so after Queen G4, another line that is tried also is Queen A5. Just excuse me. It's just Queen A5, leaving this guy on breeze as well as his pawn. And this line is pretty dubious too. But for instance, after Queen takes E4, which is not even the best line, but because you could just take this pawn here. But after Queen takes E4, Bishop takes C3, B takes C3, Queen takes C3 check. Again, the same idea, attacking the rook and the king at the same time. King D1, Queen takes, Knight B5, and say D5, and Queen B4, and Knight C6. And Black, it's still worse after say Knight C7 check and King D8, Queen D6. But going back, White can just simply play Queen to G7 there. And say for instance, let's go back at Rook F8. And Knight B5 is good. And I'll give Knight takes C3. Takes. And if he takes, this a reoccurring theme, the king steps aside and is willing to part ways with this rook. And if say Bishop takes, the rook on A1 and Knight D6 is devastating. So the basic idea in that line is that the dark squares are very, 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 very valuable, and that it's often possible for White to give up an entire rook just in order to dominate the white squares here. And by the way, White will be winning, because then the king is forced to move. So for instance, move away from the rook. So for instance, if he tried to stay close to the rook here and protect, then Bishop G5 would be mate. And notice how everything's happening on the dark squares. So that's the main thing to remember is the importance of this dark square bishop, and that oftentimes it's worth giving up a rook for it. But just going over the game real quick again. Kasparov, as a youth. I don't even think he was a titled player at the time. Just showing, just showing that ferocity that he was known for throughout his career, and even now. I mean, if you've been following those blitz games that he played, he showed the flashes of brilliance. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and we're gonna see you on the next one. Please subscribe, like, comment, and make suggestions if there's any type of openings that you want to look at, or questions that you might have. Don't be afraid to ask. All right. Okay. See y'all later.